Welcome back. Investigators looking into what caused yesterday's derailment of the Amtrak train, which was traveling from New York to Savannah, Georgia. It left 2 people dead, 35 others injured. Joining us right now is Forbes Media Chairman Steve Forbes. He was on that Amtrak train that derailed yesterday. Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be with you.
We're glad you're okay. You were
no.
not impacted physically or anything.
Right, and our prayers go out to the families of those 2 workers who were killed and those who were injured.
Tell us what happened from your standpoint.
Well,
where were you at the time?
We were, fortunately, I was in the last car of the train, and we were between Philadelphia and Wilmington, going into Wilmington, and then suddenly you felt a sudden halt. It was like somebody in a car hitting the brakes and leasing up and hitting the brakes, but went in a matter of seconds. And so you knew this was not a normal slowdown. So it came to a screeching halt. If you had coffee, the coffee was in the air, cups were flying. But other than that, we weren't impacted. There was initially a smell of rubber, like the brakes were burning. That went away, so we knew there wasn't a fire. So we just decided to sit there until we were told what to do. We weren't going to get off with the potential live track next to us. But it was about a half hour before somebody came back and said first responders came in about a half hour and said, was anyone injured? They were obviously working on the first 2 cars where you did have those injuries.
So for 30 minutes you were basically in the dark waiting for somebody to tell you something, and all you had was that big feeling that you hit something.
Yes, there was an explosion or feeling of you felt an explosion, and then coming to a screeching halt, and then nothing.
Now, I mean, it looks like we see in these pictures video of some of these cars going off track. Did you have any feel of that, or were you kind of steady in the back car?
And then in the back car, it was steady. We didn't have a feeling we were about to veer off, and so.
Did it feel like you were on track or off track at one point? I mean, at some point, did you know that you actually derailed?
In our car, no. We were on the track. You felt a little tilt, but nothing would suggest that you were about to fall over or anything.
We'll get all of the details and more information, I'm sure, on the investigation. But it's still sort of shocking to me that this happened, that a train was able to hit a backhoe, if that's exact. I thought Amtrak, after the other deadly derailments, had put in early warning systems. If there's things on the track.
They apparently have done so so you don't get trains crashing into each other head on. But there was apparently no system for the construction workers to talk to somebody who could say a train is coming in X minutes, get off the track.
What was it? That's the big question, is what was that backhoe doing right there?
And then on the train itself, on a plane, they have backup systems. So if the main system goes, you have something you can go to. Hospitals have backup systems. Why wasn't there a backup PA system so you could tell people? We knew better not to try to get off the train, but say there's something happened, stay calm. We'll be attending to it.
So how did Amtrak deal with it then? How would you say the Amtrak response was?
Well, other than the lack of information, the first responders were terrific. When they came on after about a half hour, they asked who was hurt. Then about 20 minutes later, they took us, said you can get off the train. And there are plenty of them there helping you get down. We weren't Olympic athletes, and so we didn't have the normal platform there. Helping cross the field, and then you had to cross a little brook, and they were there to help. So the first responders were excellent. The local church and the gymnasium did a good job. They got the coffee there. So the response was good. The first responders, and then the local town. Little town called Trainer, Pennsylvania.
Oh, thank God you're okay, Steve. Let me ask you about where we are in terms of this presidential election right here, Steve. Do you think that things have changed at all in the last couple of weeks?
Yes, for both Senator Cruz and for Donald Trump. Both have to ramp up their games, step up their games. Donald Trump, when he made those statements about NATO, when he made those statements about South Korea and Japan getting nuclear weapons, those were throwaways you don't do at this stage in the campaign. If you're going to make a big policy suggestion like that, you do it in a formal speech to show people you thought the thing through. The shocker on the abortion answer was not just the answer, but 10 months into a campaign, especially in a Republican primary, you have that answer down and you never deviate.
What about taxes? He just said the rich people are going to pay more, including higher carried interest charges. What do you say to that?
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked that, John.
Yeah. Well, again, he's got a tax plan out there. He's got to flesh that out. Ted Cruz has a flat tax plan.
You like Ted Cruz's better?
Yes. And
he wants to raise taxes on wealthy people. How do you feel?
Well, it depends how you do it. If you do it by getting rid of deductions but lowering rates across the board, there's something to be said for that.
And he hasn't been clear on how he would do it.
Right, and saying get rid of the debt.
But it's going to be great.
Get rid of the debt in 8 years? I mean, no, you not at this stage in a campaign.
That's a high order.
And Ted Cruz has got to lead more, which he's beginning to do with substance. He cannot just be, I'm Ted Cruz and win in the Northeast. He's got to lead with a powerful message, and people then take a look at the message.
You're right. Steve, great analysis, and we're so happy you're okay. Thank you so much for joining us. Steve Forbes.